You got all the papers over here.
It's already live.
All right.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, I'm Mary.
I'm Linda.
Your sister's in the kitchen.
Welcome to part 8 of Mama's story. And first of all, Mary, I think I'm going to read this letter.
Okay. Linda has a letter here that Dad's mother wrote.
Pinky Ma was a very strong woman, like both of our grandmothers were. And she had been real worried about Daddy. Daddy had already got back to the United States by way of San Francisco. And she wrote the Colonel asking him about Daddy. And this is the letter. You can see it's torn. And they kept their papers in a syrup bucket. You remember
Yeah,
that?
I do remember that. Sure do, Pinky
And,
Mom.
before Pinky Ma died, or before she got sick, I asked her, could I have all the letters? All of Mama's letters got burned up at her house.
Right.
So I asked her, could I have all of Daddy's letters? And she gave them to me. So this is the letter that he wrote. This was March the 20th, 1944. And this was from Martinsburg, West Virginia.
This is when Daddy was just getting out of the hospital. I mean, just getting out of the service.
He had not been discharged yet.
They carried him to the hospital. Okay.
So the colonel said, "Dear Mr. and Miss Pink, would you inquire about the health of your son, Corporal Cecil R. Pinkston, who is a patient in this hospital? His condition is gone." And then he said, "Corporal Pinkston's condition is by no means serious, nor is it an unusual one." Those were two key elements in this letter that have literally haunted me to this day.
This was his discharge record from the medical.
And you can rest that he is receiving every comfort and care possible. So I don't even know if you're sure that none of my siblings have ever seen this. I've got a book with those letters in it. So we're going to start.
Show Daddy this picture. You can see that's got things of in storage and in boxes till we can find the 8x10.
10 made.
Yeah,
soon.
we're making sure we get that 8x10 made. I hang her up pictures that I've got to get frames for.
Okay, so we're going to start reading from Mama's words again. This was a few days of our love for him. I probably shouldn't have read this part. My baby daughter.
Linda, I done had my cry yesterday.
My baby daughter, then 16, she's talking about me, actually worshipped her daddy.
Yeah. Driving license. Of course, Daddy was already gone by then. But anyway, that's okay.
So, thing he wouldn't do for you.
All right. We're going to pick up on October the 31st. We always had a lot of our cousins spend an Edward Halloween night, and so but the oldest one, William Pinkston, he was going to play a trick on the stairs, and William didn't know that Dad. He didn't know that Dad would come to the door. But anyway, William knocked on the door, and he wouldn't answer with Daddy immediately. So whenever he opened the door, that scared Mother so bad until that next morning she took his guns and took them out to Pinky Ma's, and which was right next door. And so she took all the guns out there Sunday morning because she's afraid that he might accidentally hurt somebody. So that is up to the Sunday morning of November the 1st, 1964. And you want to pick up there?
Yeah. So Daddy's parents, Pinky Mom, Pinky Pa, we've told this before, they live right next door to us. It was probably it was really close. When we went to church, and Mama didn't always go to church when Daddy was bad, but this particular day, she felt like she needed to, and she did. And Daddy would go out there and visit with them.
Right.
And when we got back from church, and Mama got back from church, and us kids, and
she fixed a big dinner that day.
She did. Finished preparing dinner. Daddy told her that he ate her children. Charles, Mary, and myself were planning to leave shortly to go to a friend's funeral. This was
us kids really didn't know the people. Who was that?
We didn't know it. It was
James
a friend
Anderson?
of Pinky Paul's. It was Sam Montgomery's. Mr. Sam Montgomery's mother had died, And so everywhere Pinky Paw went, we took them.
Right.
And so the 3 older children were planning to leave shortly to go to a friend's funeral, and that was Mr. Montgomery's mother. We'd never even met the lady, but we
Right.
were taking them. Cecil asked me several times if I was going, and then he asked each one of the children one by one. My youngest son did not go because funerals upset him. That was Edward. His parents also went to the funeral. So it was...
And Charles Linnell, too.
Linnell and Sue.
Linnell and Sue, yeah.
So it was Charles, me and Mary, Linnell and Sue, and Pinky Paw.
I think it was like 7.
7 of us.
It was 7 of us. Hey, us kids, we stuck together. It didn't make any difference where we was going. We always went together. So if Charles was going to take Pinky Paw, we was all going with him. So we all went to the funeral with him.
And we are live, right? Yes, I believe we are.
Yeah. We're live.
Yeah, okay. I didn't want to make the mistake I made the last time. Okay, after we left, after they had gone, he and I went to our bedroom to rest a while. Mom and Daddy's bedroom and the living room was the 2 latest additions that they built under our house, and they were really big rooms.
Right,
We had a
right.
storm house under Mom and Daddy's room.
Right.
And they had concrete
It was
floors.
a concrete
the floor,
floors, yeah.
They poured a slab, and it was concrete floors. So he was easily, they went to rest a while, which we always did on Sunday afternoon. There was 2 beds in there, and Mama
It's
was
'cause they
laying
didn't
on
sleep
one.
good
Daddy
together
didn't hardly
because Daddy's
sleep at all. I mean, he
so
would literally
restless.
go nights
Right,
and not
right.
even shut his eyes. So Mama slept on one bed, and he slept on the other.
And Linda, remember, he had gotten out of the hospital November the 1st, was it been 2 weeks. Mama went down there and got him. He had been out of the hospital 2 weeks when this happened.
Okay.
He'd been out of the hospital for
I
2
knew it
weeks.
was close to
Yeah.
2 weeks.
He was out 2 weeks.
He was easily disturbed and never slept well, and Daddy couldn't hear, but he was so sensitive to everything. We would come in from church, never turned a light on.
No,
We got
no.
undressed in the dark. We
No.
did not do anything
To disturb him.
disturb him in case he was sleeping. And it wasn't that we were afraid of him. We did not want to disturb him if he was
Right.
sleeping. So I don't think either of us, this is Mama talking again, I don't think either of us really went to sleep. I had an awareness that he was what we call feeling really bad. I think we mentioned this before.
Right.
I remember opening my eyes to look over at him, and he was wringing his hands together. I talked to him some, and then they both got up and went through the house, got a drink of water, and returned to the bedroom and to their beds. Along with my son, Edward, along with 2 of his cousins, were outside of the house playing, at the back of the house playing. Are you going to...
Okay. And so, after they went back to the bedroom, as Cecil picked up the claw hammer, and he dropped it, and the floor was cement, and it made a loud noise. So I wasn't sleeping at all. So when I raised up and saw that he had the hammer drawn back, I said, "Honey, what in the world are you doing?" My first thought was he was going to tell me that he would use the hammer for his protection because Mother had carried the guns over to his mother's. And then by the time I had stood, he began beating me on the forehead and face with the hammer. I managed to finally get out of the bedroom and through the house to the front, and I called Edward. And when he saw me, my head bleeding profusely, I can't say it, and beat like I was, he said he thought that Daddy would come running to me and tell me how sorry he was that he had hurt me. Instead, he had come to the yard fence gate with a .22 pistol.
We had a hurricane fence around
Yeah.
our front yard.
And Edward said, "Mother, Daddy's got the gun." And at that instant, he began firing. I stood out in the open directly behind our station wagon. Edward never got to me. I told him to lie down on the ground. I don't really know how many shots that he fired at Edward, several never hitting him at all. Among the first or second shot went through my right side, through the middle stomach, but did not come out. And after he fired the 8 shots, Edward started to go to him. He thought he could get the gun or make him show make him know, make him realize what he was doing.
Edward was 14.
Edward was 14 when this happened, and all of our cousins was there too. And he had gone back to the kitchen door. Standing in the door, he began firing again. I had run and gotten behind a small oak tree near the street to take cover.
There were 3 trees in Pinky Mom and Pinky Paw's front yard, and they wasn't big trees. And she got behind one of these trees.
He came all the way out there and put the pistol to my shoulder. He fired 2 more shots that went all the way through my left shoulder. Then he went back and spoke to me for the first time. He said, "Looky here," and then he put the gun to his right temple, and she said, "Cecil, don't do that. We love you." And the gun was empty, so he didn't fire. He reloaded it and went back inside the house and fired 1 more shot through his temple, which killed him instantly.
So at this time, Mother or Edward, neither one saw him fire the final shot.
No, they did
They
not.
started
They
running
started
down
running.
the road. And, you know, when we go to Nacogdoches today and we go around that curve,
Yeah.
back when we were kids, it seemed like a long way. But in
it
reality, it's maybe, 2 blocks?
Yeah, it's not
far. When the
Right.
road curves. And then, so when we were
was at
coming
the funeral.
home.
We was on our way
Yes.
home when this was
And
happening.
Mary, all through that funeral, I don't know if you remember or not, but we had on those black shirtwaist dresses, and we sat there and cried all during that funeral, and we didn't even know this woman.
Honestly, I was crying during the funeral, and all I could think about, what if this was my mother or my daddy? What if this was my mother or daddy sitting in
Not
that
knowing
funeral?
what
Not
was
knowing
going on.
what was going on at the house. But that's what was on my mind the whole time I was sitting in that funeral.
So Mama had on, and all of this is not in here, but she had on one of those house dresses. You remember it?
the
It's
little
like one
house
of those
dress.
cotton house dresses. And her hair was down, her face was covered in blood, her clothes were covered in blood, and they were running down the road. They were just running away
The
from
kids,
the house.
all of our cousins was just running in every
Everybody
direction.
was just screaming and
yeah,
running.
but Edward ran
Yes.
with Mother down the road.
My legs were so weak, I was rocking like a drunk person. I'm going to try to read this like it's not concerning to us, and maybe I can get through it. About this time, my other children, along with Pinky Mom and Pinky Paw, turned the corner and saw Edward and I running in that condition. What a shock it was for them. They wanted to go into the house, but she told him, no, do not go. She knew what had happened, and she didn't want us to go there. So I told all of them that I knew he wasn't alive at that minute. My intentions were not to go to the hospital. Remember, she kept saying,
she kept saying,
"Take me to
Sister Mittens, take me
which
to
was our
Sister Mittens."
pastor.
Right.
And Charles, he was the oldest, and he was 19.
Right.
You were 18.
Well, Linda, whenever we seen them running down the road, when we got to them and stopped, Edward and Mother got in the car with us, and our cousins, we didn't know where they was at, but there was maybe 9 people in the
Yes.
car at that time.
We
It
were
was 9
we were
people.
just, I was in the floorboard. We were just stacked all over each other. The
Right.
windows were rolled down. And so she wanted to go to Sister Minton's, and Charles just headed straight down Powers, right coming out 59.
hospital.
There was no red light there. He pulled out of that with his horn blown, going and never even stopped.
Some of us had our heads out the window because we were we were just squashed in that back seat.
So he took her straight to the emergency room at Nacogdoches Memorial. And Mama said, there's been so many times God has proven the scripture, if he's for us, who can be against us? And we kind of already said some of this. Charles, my oldest son, who was driving the car, took her to the hospital. And before we got there, about a distance of a mile, she was in terrible pain. She had no feeling in her left arm. In such pain inside my
See, one of the bullets that went through her stomach all the way through, and I was talking to Charles last night, and he said when they went into the ER, he was in there when they removed that bullet. That bullet went all the way through her, from her side all the way through her stomach, and it was just barely inside the skin in her back. And Charles was in there when they removed that bullet, but she said it was so much pain, but they then they stitched up her head because her head had to have stitches.
And the ones in her shoulder.
And her shoulders, no, the 2 bullets that went through her shoulders went all the way through the bone. Matter of fact, it went through the bone.
There was one bullet that stayed with her.
That's right.
It never came out.
One bullet they never got out.
So,
And we're going to close here in just a minute, and we'll pick up tomorrow on the hospital stay and what our mother went through and what happened after she got to the hospital. I will say that everybody was calling the police. At the emergency room, they was calling the police and saying, what happened. But Mother, I told him, I said, my daddy's not going to be alive when you get there. I mean, but the police, neighbors told us that they just came from every direction behind the house, thinking that he might still be there with the loaded gun.
No,
but
Mama knew.
Mother said no, Cecil's not alive, and But anyway, there was one of our old school teachers. Matter of fact, she taught all of us, Linda, the 2nd grade. Miss Fain, Miss Parrish, and she was outside. She doesn't volunteer work at the hospital, and she seen me, and I told her what had happened, and she stayed with us there at the ER until we got everything situated, and we just had lots of friends that did come.
It was probably, this happened right around 3:15, I think.
Yeah.
I would say and remember this was in November, and I hope that y'all know that we're reading this, but we are living it.
Yeah, this has been a hard 2 weeks for me. I've never lived it until the last 2 weeks. And yesterday I was in my youngest daughter's, little Linda's house, and I was trying to brace myself for today, and I broke down and cried. And I got to thinking about last night. I think that is the first time that I've told that and cried, because I've tried to just hold up, but I'm reliving it, but it's going to be all over after this. We've lived our good life. We've lived a good life and been happy, but we will pick up tomorrow. Don't you think, Linda, on her being in the hospital, or do you have something else to say?
No. I was just going to say, this was around 3:15. By dark, there was hundreds of people at the hospital that came.
Everywhere came.
Brother Noah Lumen.
From Carthage.
Sister
Jane. Lord Jane. Yeah, it was just, friends from everywhere came.
Everywhere
at the
came.
hospital. And,
thank you for bearing with us.
Thank y'all so much, and we'll continue on Mother's story tomorrow. We'll tell you all that went on in the hospital and what a struggle Mama had after she went. So anyway, we love y'all. Thank y'all so much for watching, and we'll be on at 11 with the cooking show. And some happier times.
Yes,
we can laugh and have a good time in a few minutes.
And we promise not to cry while we're cooking.
No, we won't. We'll have fun.
Bye. We love y'all.
Bye-bye.